tonight with news. Ontario's deficit is growing by billions. The provincial government announces billions more will be spent on infrastructure.
The government could have easily spent that $3 billion on putting money back in the pockets of the most low-income Ontarians.
How stakeholders are reacting to Doug Ford's fall economic statement and why one transit association says revved-up spending can actually ease the cost of living problem.
I've not seen a deal undone after the fact.
Plus, messy mansion deal, what CBC Toronto has uncovered about the luxury home lawsuit linking an NBA star with Ontario's self-proclaimed crypto king.
And how do you feel being ambassador for the Royal Winter Fair?
And slobbery silliness on the go, how the Royal Winter Fair is hoping this commute will drive up attendance. Good evening, I'm Chris Glover. We begin tonight with the state of the province's finances. The Ford government revealing today that just as interest rates and inflation have affected many family budgets, Ontario's deficit has ballooned in recent months. In a moment, we'll show you new reaction tonight from taxpayers, retailers, and transit advocates. But for our top story tonight, let's turn to Lorenda Redekop with the details of the province's fall economic statement.
All smiles as they walk in, but armed with a document containing some grim details. Back in March, the province projected a deficit of $1.3 billion. Now it's $5.6 billion. The finance minister was asked how he's feeling about the economy.
I sleep like a baby. I wake up every 2 hours and I cry.
He says revenues are down, with high inflation and interest rate hikes expected to have an impact this year and next. The province announced a new Ontario Infrastructure Bank. It's investing $3 billion, hoping big investors such as pension funds will add more.
This is a new tool to attract trusted institutional investors to help finance essential infrastructure that would otherwise not get built.
The money will go to funding large projects, including in the energy industry, long-term care, and affordable housing, though the minister insists the province won't be building that housing. This update also provides a look at new home building. Compared to last year's budget, housing starts are projected to be up, but still down from last year and nowhere close to hitting the province's target of building 1.5 million homes over 10 years.
They could have gone all in on housing, which is what is needed right now. Instead, they created another bureaucracy.
The opposition worries who will run the new infrastructure bank.
They have a history and a track record of putting their friends and families sometimes in these powerful positions. This is something of concern for us.
As previously announced, the government continued its cut of the gas tax. But apart from that, there doesn't seem to be anything to directly save people money.
The cost of everything, groceries, rent, housing, has only been going up. I wish I could say that there was something new and meaningful in today's announcement to allay people's worries and concerns.
She wishes the government had used some of its contingency fund. Instead, it's adding another $2.5 billion. That rainy day fund is now at $5.4 billion. The government says it's about protecting against unforeseen changes. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Now let's get you some of that fresh reaction tonight. For that part of our coverage, we'll turn to Patrick Swadden.
The cost of living crisis has been affecting regular citizens across the province for a while now.
We've got over half of households saying they're $200 away from not being able to pay their bills.
Today, with the Ford government announcing a ballooning provincial deficit, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation says it's not the time to be spending, especially not $3 billion on an infrastructure bank.
The government could have easily spent that $3 billion on putting money back in the pockets of the most low-income Ontarians.
But the government says the fund will encourage private lenders, and the Canadian Urban Transit Association agrees the investment is a good idea.
So it's really important that cities across the province have the opportunity to have big transit projects that are funded.
Ridership in Ontario has resurged coming out of the pandemic, and the Transit Association says more investment can actually ease the cost of living problem.
It'll help by having more transit-oriented communities. So that means being able to build more densely. It means being able to build transit-oriented development around hubs.
But those representing Ontario's convenience store industry say the fall economic statement came with a missed opportunity.
We really feel that government's kind of leaving some money on the table.
She says online product sales, especially for tobacco and vaping products, are increasing, even as the illicit tobacco market is as high as 69%. That represents hundreds of millions of dollars lost in potential taxes to the black market.
Government tries to shut something down and they're back up and running the next day. And so there need to be some creative solutions.
But she says that will require all levels of government. Meanwhile, Ontario announcing in today's economic statement it will join the federal government's tax on vaping in a new attempt to increase revenues. Patrick Swadden, CBC News, Toronto.
A much warmer evening tonight as we look live at the city. 6 degrees out there right now. Let's get to Colette Kennedy for a first check on our forecast. And Colette, the shorter days are certainly getting noticeable.
Yeah, that's right, Chris. I've been hearing that from a lot of folks, too. And, you know, as we go through the weekend, we know we're going to set those clocks back. And so that's going to change things principally. But looking at our sunrise tomorrow, until we make that adjustment, 7:55 a.m. and our sunset tomorrow, just after 6 o'clock. And yeah, now our days are, in terms of daylight hours, around 10 hours and 10 minutes or so, kind of in that range. Our daytime highs today, we did pretty well in Toronto, 11. Windsor 10, everyone else high single digits, and we're seeing that warm up continue with the southwesterly breeze into the weekend. But those winds are strong, I know, and creating some lake effect showers through the evening over eastern sections of northern Lake Ontario there. And then through tomorrow, we do have kind of variable skies, but there should be a decent amount of sunshine, especially to start the day. It's late in the day, tomorrow evening and overnight into Saturday morning. This cold front comes through. You're going to have to hold on till a little later in the show, and I'll go into the details of how that impacts the weekend. But tonight, 5, and tomorrow's high, a very nice 13 degrees, albeit a little on the breezy side.
Yeah, but very nice indeed. All right, thank you, Colette. Taking you now to Dundas and Kiel, where a large teddy bear installation took over a portion of the intersection today in a show of pro-Israeli support in the ongoing conflict with Hamas. 240 of the stuffed animals, each holding photos of hostages and flags, are meant to highlight the scope of the war. Each teddy bear represents a hostage still in Hamas's custody. Organizers say the safe return of civilians needs to happen now. Across town to Queen's Park, a rally this evening, demonstrators calling for Canada to demand a ceasefire in the conflict. Protesters are also demanding humanitarian aid be allowed into Gaza, reiterating concerns that Gazans are facing a dire situation with food, water, and medical resources. Meanwhile, faith leaders in Toronto are calling on the federal government to address another urgent concern as well. 170 faith leaders signing a letter pushing the feds to enact several changes in how asylum seekers are treated when they arrive here, including establishing a refugee reception center right at Pearson Airport. Dale Manukduk has more on their demands and what the federal government had to say in response.
On Monday, when the temperature dropped below zero, faith leaders rallied to find emergency shelter for dozens of refugee claimants sleeping outside Toronto's referral center. They say a miracle happened that night, but
this crisis is not over. Just this morning, I woke up to a text that said there are 30 people in front of 129 Peter. They are getting sick, and 3 of them are in bad shape.
For months now, hundreds of refugees have been supported by Black-led churches in Toronto, including at Dominion International, where Pastor Eddie Jumba volunteers.
We've had about 200 people in a space where, picture 200 people using 2 showers. So the women use 1 shower and the men use 1 shower. That is what it looks like.
Today, the faith leaders delivered a letter signed by over 170 people calling on the government to establish a reception center at Pearson Airport for refugee claimants, expand hotel shelter spaces, and open federal armories.
I'm not entirely sure that armories are ideal. Churches aren't ideal. There's 1 or 2 toilets in a church. Armories have mass showers. They are being used by the military, so not the proper and dignified way to welcome people.
Over the months, IRCC has moved refugee claimants to other parts of the province, including Cornwall, Windsor, and Niagara Falls. But every day, more show up to Toronto, a city that's seeing record demand for shelter service and turning away nearly 300 people every night. This woman has been sleeping outside for more than 10 days. She says the influx of refugee claimants have made it more challenging on the existing unhoused population.
We would like to help, yes, but that doesn't mean we forget our own families and then keep on bringing others, and we cannot help either or.
We've seen what's happening. No guarantees that this is actually going to get better in a world where we have irregular migration. We've reached that dubious, ominous 100 million mark across the world in terms of displaced persons. That's scary, and it should scare a lot of folks. But I think we can do it as a country and be a little more coordinated in our approach.
Miller has committed to working with both the city and province to come up with more sustainable solutions. Dale Manukduk, CBC News, Toronto.
Now to a child luring investigation. Police announcing 10 suspects have been charged with nearly 40 child exploitation offenses.
Over 4 days, officers posed as underage children online to identify, locate, and arrest individuals looking to sexually exploit our children. As a result of the investigation, 10 individuals were arrested and charged with 39 offenses, including luring, arranging to commit sexual offenses against a child, and making child sexual abuse material.
The OPP releasing this high-production video today announcing the arrests. The Provincial Police Service says officers from Durham, York, Peel, and all the way up to Sudbury, even Sault Ste. Marie, lured suspects over just 4 days back in September. In one case, it took only an hour and a half for an officer posing as a child online to set up a meeting with an adult. Some of the adults arrived with candy, toys, and sexual paraphernalia. 55 devices were seized as part of the investigation. Welcome back. Our investigative team here at CBC Toronto continues to follow the story of Ontario's self-proclaimed crypto king, Aiden Pleterski. Now there's a new twist in the unraveling saga about the 24-year-old who allegedly lost tens of millions of investors' money. It involves a Toronto-born NBA star and a multi-million-dollar lakefront mansion. Angelina King explains the latest development.
The $8.4 million mansion boasts more than 10,000 square feet, an ultra-private waterfront estate in Burlington, Ontario, with 6 bedrooms, a spa, and a private dock on Lake Ontario. It's where Aiden Pleterski, the self-described crypto king, lived for more than a year, showing off his high-end sports cars and the view. He rented to own the place for around $45,000 a month, until his cryptocurrency investment operation collapsed amid allegations it was a Ponzi scheme, something he has denied. Investors came looking for the more than $40 million they gave Pleterski, and a bankruptcy proceeding was launched.
I'm sorry.
He was later allegedly kidnapped, including by one of the investors who lost money.
Gilgeous-Alexander.
Then, this spring, Toronto-born NBA star Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bought the house and moved in with his girlfriend, both seemingly unaware of who used to live there. And according to court documents, just 2 days later, the pair received a threatening visit from a man demanding to know where Pleterski was. His girlfriend called police, who told her they had received several reports about threats to the property, including that there was a threat to burn the house down. They left and never came back. Now Gilgeous-Alexander is suing to void the sale, arguing no one would have bought the mansion if the history of threatening visits had been disclosed.
I've not seen a deal undone after the fact.
This longtime real estate lawyer says running back the clock on the purchase won't be easy.
It's a pretty high standard to get out of a deal, generally speaking. Now you want to get out of the deal after you've closed it. It's really hard.
The seller is a company controlled by GTA developer Ray Gupta and his son Sandeep, who earlier this year told a bankruptcy hearing Pleterski moved out of the mansion because there was a lot of concern for his safety, adding, "We were having randoms showing up every day." Sandeep also said a couple who later stayed in the home moved out after people came by looking for Pleterski. But the Guptas maintain in a statement of defense those visits were not threatening.
The number one thing that I do
In order to avoid any surprises when buying a house, this realtor suggests a bit of an old school approach.
just talk to the neighbors. It's almost like gumshoe detective work to figure out if this is the right home for somebody. And so it's not something that you can just instantly look up on a website.
The seller's lawyer told us her clients denied that there was any misrepresentation to the buyer. Neither side would comment any further, citing the ongoing court proceeding. It's not exactly clear what the Canadian NBA star's next move might be if his lawsuit isn't successful. Angelina King, CBC News, Toronto.
A significant development tonight for harm reduction workers. The program that tests Toronto's street drug supply for contaminants is being expanded thanks to new federal money.
So we received $2 million over 2 years from Health Canada's Substance Use and Addictions program. So with those funds, we plan to do a few things. First, we are just going to sustain the service that we currently have in Toronto, but also really, our mandate is now provincial. So also supporting a larger provincial effort and hopefully doing unregulated drug market monitoring for the province as well.
Launched in October 2019, Toronto's drug checking service allows people to have their drugs tested, helping them make more informed decisions and helping officials understand what contaminants are in the drug supply. Milder evening tonight. Let's turn things back over to you for more on this warm-up that we're experiencing.
Yeah, that's kind of the big change. I mean, we know our daytime highs, our daily maximums are getting warmer and going a little bit above normal, but it's the overnight lows, having those come back above the freezing mark. Saw that this morning, experienced that this morning in terms of the low, and that's the next few days we'll have much milder overnight temperatures too. Today's high, we didn't do too badly there, but we're going to pick it up a little bit tomorrow. With those winds, though, picking those up as well, carrying on with some very gusty conditions. Some of the wind gusts south to southwesterly flow over 50 kilometers an hour, and we see this into Friday too, especially right before the cold front kind of comes through. We get an extra boost, so very breezy. They will ease though as we get into the weekend for Saturday. Now with the passing of that cold front, let's get back to that. I know I was teasing earlier in the show that I would show you. So some kind of variable cloud conditions through tomorrow. And then as that front is approaching, we'll see more cloud cover later in the day tomorrow. Showers develop through cottage country and then into the later evening hours into the GTA, a few showers and back towards southwestern Ontario. These are the overnight hours, but watch what happens into Saturday morning. Yeah, it could be just, again, this is very light in nature in terms of the showers we'll see, but see them along that north shore of Lake Erie and over towards the Golden Horseshoe. So the early part of the day Saturday, and then things improve, and kind of the same thing. We have a chance for a few very light showers on Sunday. It's really generally looking like quite a nice weekend, especially once those winds back off. Overnight temperatures tonight, see how mild those will be. And then through the day on Friday after that high of 13, slightly cooler behind the cold front on Saturday, but Sunday, Monday, it's looking okay, but wet weather does come back at the beginning of the week. And of course, again, about those clocks, Saturday night, set them back before you go to bed.
Looking forward to that extra hour of sleep. All right, thank you, Colette. An important Indigenous cultural piece has been returned to its community after 138 years.
It's so important because of reconciliation. We have been looking for artifacts that belong to ancestors. And at the time, Whitecap, he had his, I know he had his pipe taken, and I know we had some medals too that were somewhere, and probably somewhere out there that we're still trying to locate.
A ceremonial pipe was reclaimed by the Whitecap Dakota Nation, located south of Saskatoon, in a repatriation ceremony that happened today. Pipes have significant meaning to the Dakota people as they were used in ceremonies. This particular pipe belonged to Chief Whitecap, but was taken by Lieutenant William Hamilton Merritt III in May 1885. It was then given to the Royal Canadian Military Institute in 1909. Whitecap Dakota Nation Chief Darcy Bear says today's ceremony symbolizes a significant step toward reconciliation for the Dakota people. Time now for a short break. We'll be right back. Finally tonight, ask any commuter, and I'm pretty confident they'll tell you they've seen some unexpected things on transit. How about a sheep? That's what GO Train riders got this morning as Kay the sheep took a ride to the Royal Agricultural Winter Fair, and our Laura Peterson tagged along to investigate.
This is pretty special. I'm not gonna lie, she definitely was made for the camera and for all eyes to be on her. We came in on the go this morning and she was an absolute seasoned veteran on the train. We couldn't have asked for her to do any better, having never gone on anything other than a truck and trailer before. So she's definitely one in a million.
Every year we have an animal ambassador because that's what the fair is all about. It's important to celebrate all of the animals that are part of Canadian agriculture because getting to the Royal by the GO Train is an excellent way to travel. Why not make sure that the animals do the same? So every year we do this.
How was your GO Train ride today? And how do you feel being ambassador for the Royal Winter Fair? Are people going to flock to the Royal to see you?
This is her. What you see is what you get, I guess. We'll see what other kind of trouble we get into between now and the end of the fair.
Laura just getting stonewalled by that sheep. And that's our show for you tonight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. And we'll leave you now with some beautiful shots that were captured by our drone team showing Cedar Vale Ravine, just beautiful with the changing colors of the leaves. And a reminder, it's going to have a bit of a warm-up this weekend as the clocks change back. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11.